Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our weekly Jack session with me and Sam. Hello, Sam.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi. Oh, I'm doing.
So,
Yeah.
you might be watching this thinking that any time now we might be back in school doing Jack sessions, but I'm pretty sure that that's not going to happen for the foreseeable future, Sam.
Ooh.
I know.
So that was a bit weird boo. That was almost like a moo, wasn't it?
Partly because I don't really know when people are going back, and I think at the moment it's only like year 10 and year 12, so that I don't know whether we'll end up going to be back in school. It's probably going to be September, isn't it, I reckon?
Yeah, probably. Because we're like unnecessary risk as usual.
You should have that. That could be the title of your autobiography. Unnecessary risk. No, did you say unnecessary risk? I think the title of your autobiography should be Sam Rook, Unnecessary Risk.
Maybe an uneducated risk.
An uneducated risk. An unauthorised risk. Anyway, welcome, friends, to our weekly Jack session. We've been, those of you that are regular followers of the Jack Early YouTube channel, you'll know that we've been working our way through emotional needs, which we'll come on to talk about a little bit later, but we really should do what we always do at the start of a Jack session, which is make a drink and get some biscuits. Sam, you got anything in your immediate vicinity that can provide sustenance?
I've just finished a cup of tea, actually. I've got, I'm a bit parched.
Yeah, I am as well. We ought to have got a drink before this, didn't we? I need a drink right now, but it wouldn't be much of a video Jack video session, would it? If we both cleared off for 10 minutes and got ourselves a drink.
It probably wouldn't, but also it would be quite fitting.
Yes, it would. So, In that case, what do you want? We've got tea, coffee, hot chocolate, squash, water, milk, hot chocolate, cold chocolate, warm chocolate, no chocolate, some chocolate.
You know what? I reckon I've got some lemonade in the fridge. Yeah. Let me down the water, and then I'm going to get some lemonade.
Good work. I'm going to get this. Hang on a minute. I found a bottle.
Classic. Another unmarked bottle in your life.
Found a bottle, and I've no idea what's in it, which is a risk, because it might belong to my wife or any of my children or my dog.
That's it.
It's water. It's only water. That's boring. I was hoping it was going to be like Ribena or something. What you got there? What you poured? Oh,
Sprite.
Yes. Look at that. Amazing. Amazing. Good work. So now the drinks are in place. How are you feeling?
Sprite or 7-Up? That's the question. Sprite or 7-Up?
Sprite every time.
Yeah, of course.
7-Up tastes furry. Feels like it's got...
7-Up tastes arrogant. That's the taste of arrogance, the 7-Up.
Did I tell you about my 7-Up story? It's not a very fun story.
Cool.
Okay. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, when I was a small child, it might have been one of the first times that I'd been to the cinema without my parents. Like, I'd gone with a friend. So I think I was probably in like year 6 or year 7, maybe. And I used to live up north in a town called Nottingham. And we went to the cinema together. And it might have been to see like some kind of Star Wars film. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it was so long ago that 7-Up hadn't been invented yet. Or at least not that we knew about. So we were at the cinema and we were at the kiosk getting a drink, and there was this thing on the tap. There was like Coke and, Dr. Pepper and something else. And there was this thing that I'd not seen before that was 7-Up. But the logo for 7-Up has been the same for years. And, it's got like the 7 and the little red circle and it says up. But I didn't know what it was. So I didn't know it was called 7-Up because it wasn't obvious to me. So I asked the person behind the counter, if I could have a large Zup, please. And they were like, what? I said, can I have a Zup? This lime and lemon fizzy. And they were like, you mean 7-Up? I was like, yes, 7-Up. That's what I said. No, you didn't. You said Zup. No, 7-Up. That's what I said, 7-Up. And it was 7-Up. I thought, it was like, oh, fizzy lime and lemonade. That tastes like that. That sounds nice. And you know what? When you're kind of doing things for the first time on your own, those things are really scary. And it makes you reluctant to want to do things like that again. So, you
get called out immediately. It's like pronouncing a brand new drink.
Yeah.
There's loads like that, isn't there? Because, mostly in the lemonade department, like Sprit and Chepez.
It was just because of the logo. It looked like a Z and not a 7. So I just thought it was called Zup.
Wow. Are you telling me that Dr. Pepper came before 7-Up?
No, maybe it didn't. I was just trying to think of other drinks that would have been available at the time. To be honest, it was so long ago, before the days of the internet. That's how long ago. And there was probably, Coke and Diet Coke would have been there. But who knows what else? Maybe like an orange tango.
A close personal friend of mine the other day said, I think we were watching a film and it was set sort of in the medieval era, ages, whatever. And the person watching the film was like, is that a dog? It's like, yeah. It's like, I didn't know they had dogs then. Like, what do you mean? Like, what, are dogs modern? Sorry, what, dogs are modern?
Brilliant.
So there was a time before 7-Up, but was there a time before dogs? That's the question I have for you today.
There would have been times before dogs were domesticated and used as household pets. Anyway.
They're just wolves, aren't they?
Thank you for tuning in this week to the Jack session. We've so far talked about fizzy drinks and not much, and wild dogs. Packs of wild dogs.
Packs of wild dogs.
So those of you that follow this regularly will know that we've been working our way through a list of emotional needs. Now, this is something we talk about in Jack quite a lot. The basic kind of premise around the whole idea of emotional needs is that we all have things that we need to feel at different stages of our lives and in different measures. Some of us need to feel some of them a lot, some of them not at all. Things that we need to feel in order to feel good about ourselves. And the whole reason that we talk about emotional needs is that it's all part of a journey of self-awareness. So if we are aware that we have a need to feel appreciated, was the one that we talked about last week, or we need to feel comforted, which I think V talked about in our last video, then we can understand that, we can know what it looks like, we can kind of look out for that, we can prepare ourselves for the times where we maybe don't get that met, and it's all part of a kind of journey towards self-awareness, Sam. So that's why we talk about emotional needs, not just like physical needs. They're as important, maybe even more important than physical needs. We all need, food and water and things in order to survive. And the same way that for us to be emotionally healthy, we need to have our emotional needs met. And they can happen in all kinds of ways. And one of the things that we've been doing in these last few videos is hopefully chatting through some of these different emotional needs and helping you guys to think about ways in which we can get that need for that particular thing to be met in a positive way. And Sam, today, drum roll, the emotional need that we're going to talk about is the emotional need of acceptance.
Ooh. Ooh. Taste.
The need to be accepted. So to kind of set you off on thinking about this, the little definition which we wrote a while ago for acceptance is acceptance is to feel that people like me and get on with me, even if I may have upset them or are a little different to them. So say that again, acceptance, to feel that people like me and get on with me, even if I may have upset them or are different to them.
I think this is such a base foundational one. And it's such an intricate one, because I don't know if you guys heard there in the definition, there are so many things that are unspoken.
Yeah.
Maybe if you can read that one more time for us, Chris.
Yep. To feel that people like me and get on with me, even if I may have upset them or are different to them.
So if I feel what people are thinking. So that's my feelings about what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
That people like me. How do you even know if somebody likes you? If I may have upset them. So how do I even, like, that's again what I think.
Yeah.
And that ended with talking about the idea that we might feel different. Well, we're all different, so we're all going to feel some degree of difference from somebody else, but sometimes we can feel even more different or even less different, or be made to feel more different or made to feel less different.
Yeah.
There's so much in this acceptance one that is so unspoken, and so much of it happens in our own, I think at least, for me, can happen in my own head. I can decide very quickly upon meeting somebody, or very quickly upon entering a social situation.
Yeah.
Or I can decide based on pretty much only evidence that I'm thinking, not that anybody said, whether or not I'm accepted in a situation or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why this one is such a powerful one, because it's such an internal one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what you think.
Yeah, this makes me think back to conversations that we have with quite a lot of you in groups in school, where you might talk about not maybe using the word acceptance, but describing that feeling when you walk up to a group of people, or you're sitting in a class full of people, and the thing that eating away at you is that you're not entirely sure that you're accepted by that group of people. And that could be for a number of reasons. So this immediately takes me back to a conversation I had with someone who was talking about their experience of an art class that they were part of in school a year or so ago. And they were talking about feeling like that they were the worst at art in their class. It was a smaller class. It was a GCSE class, year 11. So I think there was 12 or 13 other people in the class. And their perception was that everybody else in the room was really, really good at art and had their own ideas and was really creative and going off on one. And they always felt like they were lagging behind. So therefore, they didn't feel accepted by the rest of the group. And really by the teacher as well. Even though the teacher would try and help them and do that kind of thing, their perception is that they felt that they were different to everybody else in the room because of their ability, and because they were there for that art lesson. So their ability to do art was the thing that defined them. That was the thing that they all had in common, but they felt they lagged behind in that area. So they felt that not accepted by that group of people. And to be honest, no matter how much, I remember the conversation really well, no matter how much I, looked at their artwork and got other people to look at their artwork, and everybody would say, oh man, that's really, really good. They couldn't hear that. They couldn't be convinced that their artwork was really good and at least as good as everybody else in the classroom, because what was overriding that was this need for acceptance that they just didn't feel from the other people in the room. So no matter how much anybody pointed out the facts of the situation and that they were really good at art, they ended up getting an A or something like that, so they were clearly really good. But they had this underlying feeling that they weren't accepted by the group of people that they were around. And that made them not look forward to the lesson. It made them even think that they hated art, even though they were really good at it. So it shows you just how what can be an irrational, non-logical feeling of something, like not being accepted, can make us feel really crap about ourselves. And that was true for this person, for sure.
Yeah. I think there's two kinds, isn't there? There's the acceptance that is completely unjustified, where we can feel like we are not accepted, and there's no real evidence for it except what's happening in our own heads. Yeah. And then there's the kind of not feeling accepted that can be based on something that's wrong with that culture or that group of people. And we'll maybe come on to talk about that one, especially in the light of the last couple of weeks' events in a little bit. So sticking for a minute with the idea of a lack of acceptance that we can feel in our own heads, I totally know about this one. For all of you out there that have grown up feeling different, when I was a kid, I felt like I was different because I was from a single parent family and lots of my friends had dads around. I was quite shy, so I felt even more different. So because I was so scared of not being accepted, I often, as a kid especially, wouldn't try things because it was better to not try than to try it, fail, and then be rejected because you failed.
Yeah.
So I counted myself out of a lot of things, which meant as I grew up, there were lots of experiences or things that I didn't have because I'd already counted myself out. So then I felt even more different. I was never, like me and you, we talk about this a lot in Jack sessions, like academically, I wasn't brilliant. I kind of struggled in a classroom kind of setting. So I felt even more different because of that. And so I feel like I spent most of my childhood and a lot of my life feeling, going past the very loud, feeling really different.
Okay.
But I allowed that feeling of feeling different to grow into this sense of people don't accept me.
Yeah.
People won't accept me because I'm different. I'd said to myself, you're different, you're not going to be accepted.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, we're all different. And whether we're accepted or not really doesn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But beyond all those things and above all those things, and something that I've learned that I really hope, and I hope I continue to learn, and I hope lots of you out there are learning as well, is that we can't base whether we are okay or not on whether other people accept us or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you just can't do that, because what other people think about you will often be unsaid.
Yeah.
A lot of that is going to be your own assumption in your own mind. And if you're sitting here right now thinking, I'm not good enough, who's told you that? Who's told you that you're not good?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, that voice is actually in you, not coming from outside.
Yeah.
And even if it is coming from outside, it's rarely from anybody that knows you. It's rarely from anyone that cares about you or has taken the trouble to get to know anything about you or your life.
Yeah.
So there are layers to this one. Really.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And bringing it up to, some of the things that are going on in the world at the moment. And this is maybe going off on a slight tangent, but obviously, I think it's a fundamental given to say that everybody has the right to be accepted in any situation, regardless of how different we might perceive somebody to be. Obviously, at the moment in the news, there's a massive load of stuff about racism in America, given the George Floyd thing and everything. And at the heart of that is a long history that of people feeling that people are treated differently because they're different, and in this case, almost recognizing that you're allowed to treat somebody different because of the color of their skin, or a feeling that because of the color of somebody's skin or because of their background, then they have a right to be treated differently, or you can justify treating somebody differently because they're different to you, and that's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong on any scale. We are all created the same. We're all created equal, or most people would say that, but subconsciously, the way that a lot of us can slip into kind of treating people differently that are different to us is often a subconscious thing that we can do without even thinking about it. One of the things that we talk about in Jack quite a lot is this idea that we tend to fear what we don't understand. So if things are different to us, if people are different to us, if somebody is a very different personality type to them, we might have trouble accepting them because they're different to us. And therefore we might treat them differently. We might be a little bit standoffish with them. We're not going to be best friends with everybody, but all of us can accept people for who they are. I think that's one of the most significant things. And you'll hear this a lot from teachers in school about the need to be, we're all different, but actually we're all together in our difference. And that we all have a right to be accepted, and there's a mandate for all of us on us to accept other people for who they are, and to not treat them differently because they are from a different part of town, because the colour of their skin is different, because they are different. But bringing that back down to our own feelings of the need for acceptance. And Sam, you articulated this really well, of your feeling, kind of growing up because you felt different, you felt not accepted by some people. How, Sam, do you think we can encourage people to get that need to be accepted met in a good way? Like if people are listening to this and they're thinking, yeah, I totally recognize that the need for acceptance is really important to me. How can we go about getting that need to feel accepted met in a good way? Have you got any kind of helpful or practical suggestions as to ways in which we can do that?
It's a huge one. It's such a huge one. It's such a big one. I think if you are feeling like you are not acceptable, if you are feeling, to put another word on it, maybe let's say you're feeling less or you're feeling unworthy, it can be for a whole range of reasons. It might be because you are in a culture, whether it's your family or your school or your friends, or just in our society in this country, that is in some way broken and is treating you as less.
Yeah.
If that's the case, if it's because of the color of your skin or because of your gender or because of something like that, like that is wrong. And that is the society or the culture that you're in that is broken. Your family is broken, your friendship group is broken, your classroom is broken, your club is broken, our society is broken. And I want to encourage any of you, if you are experiencing anything like that, to speak out, to speak to us, to speak to people that care about you, to find support. We want to be there for you in those areas.
Yeah.
For lots of you, you will be experiencing that you feel unworthy or unacceptable in of yourself, and it might not necessarily be as direct as the brokenness of our society. If that's you, I really, again, want to encourage you to speak to somebody who cares about you.
Yeah.
Find somebody who cares about you, who knows you well, and explain to them how you're feeling. Even just saying this stuff out loud sometimes helps to sift through what is lie and what is truth.
Yeah.
What is an unsubstantiated feeling and what is actually accurate.
Yeah.
So I really want to encourage you to find somebody to talk to. Some of you that might be a counsellor, some of you that might be a youth leader, some of that might be, might be one of us or a teacher. We would love to have those conversations with you.
Yeah. I think
the biggest.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah.
Put you off. No, you go.
Well, I just want to say that I think the biggest thing that has helped me feel like maybe I am acceptable is to understand the truth about myself. I think it's really, really important where we get our truth from.
Yeah.
And if what you're getting is the truth about yourself that you're accepting, that you're letting in, that you're believing is what the bullies are saying, or what your abusive parent is saying, or what your angry teacher is saying, or what your friends that look down on you are saying, then that is really, really damaging. What we have to find in life is what is actually true about me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that directly then has an implication as it's why friendships are so important, like healthy, good, positive friendships. I was just thinking about again the importance of having people around us, and yeah, Sam mentioned like teachers or other adults that's that we can trust, youth leaders, whoever, but also our friendship groups. Like picking our friends. Not picking our friends, because we have, we have a cross section of friends. We have people that are very close to us, and the importance that friendship plays in having our own emotional needs met. If you've got a group of friends that fuel your need for acceptance, that fully accept you for who you are, even if you are a little bit different, that you can completely be yourself around, then prioritize spending time with them. It's not favoritism. It's just, we get fueled, we get built up by being around people that add to our lives, not just we feel that we have to behave in a certain way around. And that's true for any of these emotional needs. The people that we're closest to have one of the biggest roles to play in fueling our emotional needs, in fueling our need to get these things met. So the chances are that the people that you're closest to accept you whatever happens. You could probably, if you can think of your group of friends, just picture them in your head now as you listen to this, and think about, you could probably tell, there's probably somebody that that you can tell pretty much anything, and it won't change the way they feel about you or the way they think of you. That is acceptance personified. That's like the very definition of acceptance. Like that they will accept you no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what you think. They will still love you and treat you the same as you deserve to be treated. As Sam says, we all deserve to be treated that way. So again, there's a very practical implication there, isn't it? If you know that there's an environment or a group or a context that you go into where you feel especially not very appreciated, there's not a lot that you can do to change that. But it's important that you don't listen to that voice, as Sam has encouraged us not to, and instead listen to those voices that come from your close group of friends that do accept you. So again, that's where the self-awareness thing kicks in. Go and spend time with that close group of friends or that really good friend who can build you up and encourage you and communicates acceptance to you to top up your acceptance levels before you go into that place where you're not necessarily accepted. And that's just part of life, isn't it? Because there are places that we will all feel not massively accepted in. And that's, again, it's all about self-awareness.
Absolutely. It really, really is. And I want to encourage everybody as well. Like, acceptance is a little bit like a drug. It's a little bit like a drug. And there are going to be lots of opportunities in your life to get acceptance. You can get acceptance with joining the group when they are bullying somebody. You can get acceptance by posting the same thing that a million people have posted. You can get acceptance by getting the right number of likes. You can get acceptance by letting a person treat you in a certain way, especially sexually. Like, you can get acceptance in that way, or what feels like acceptance. Acceptance is a drug. There are a billion ways to get what feels like acceptance briefly. Yeah. And it might last a minute, it might last an hour, it might last a day, it might last a few months. But we want to encourage you to find those people that genuinely love you. Just as Chris has said, find those people that genuinely love you for who you are.
Yeah.
And want the best for you.
Yeah.
And will call you out on stuff and encourage you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just find acceptance where it might be easy or quick or accessible, because some of those places are toxic and dangerous. I'd say for myself, when I was a teenager, there were at least 2 relationships that I got into because the other person wanted to date me, and that's not me blowing my own trumpet at all, but I had a very low self-esteem when I was a teenager, and there were a couple of relationships I got into because the person liked me. And looking back on those relationships, they caused us both pain in the end. They were both reasonably destructive. They both left us with like things that we didn't need to have in our lives, like hurt and whatever. Looking back, it was a waste of the time that we were both in those relationships, and we did each other more damage than good. Fortunately, nothing major and huge, like no terrible disease or no baby or anything like that came out of it that can. So I was blessed in that way, but that is just one tiny example of how acceptance can be such an alluring drug.
And it can be the same in a group of friends, can't it? You think about, we talk a lot about people who feel uncomfortable with a group of people that they're around because they feel that in order to be accepted, they have to do certain things which they don't really want to do, but they feel they've got to be accepted. That's like a classic, like being part of a gang thing. Like we've talked to countless numbers of boys who say they feel like they want to be part of this group because it makes them look a certain way. Girls like them more. It makes them appear more popular. But when they're in that group, they have to do things and say things in order to gain the acceptance of the other people in that group or gang. But they don't really feel it's being themselves. Like, that's not a good environment to get your need to be accepted in. So if you know you're in a group of friends or a particular group which is a bit toxic, where you feel you can't be yourself and you feel you have to be a certain way or behave in a certain way in order to be accepted, it's not a good way of getting your need for acceptance met, because ultimately it's going to leave you unfulfilled. It's going to leave you, it's a false acceptance. It's, I will accept you if you do this. And that isn't a good way to get acceptance met. Sam, we've gone on a long time about this. We should probably stop, because well,
that's a great note to end on. That's a great note to end on.
Yeah. If you're still listening and watching, well done for sticking with us. So hopefully that was helpful for any of you who, struggle with the need for acceptance, or it's not even struggle with it. It's just a thing that is part of you. We all need to feel accepted. It's not a weakness. None of these things are weaknesses. None of these emotional needs are weaknesses. It's just all about this journey of self-awareness, which we talk about so much. So hopefully that helps. And if you've got any thoughts or comments of your own story or anything else that you want to ask us, then please put that in the comments or get in touch with us. Sam, thank you as always.
And you.
And sharing and things. And we'll be back very soon with some more videos as we work our way through these emotional needs. Nice to see you all. It's probably time for your next lesson. I imagine I can see people moving around outside. It's the end of break or something like that. I don't know. I miss being in school. We'll see you all again very soon.
Bye.